All right, buckle up because today we're asking the big question. Uh, could making a video game someday be as simple as firing off a tweet?
You're not just riffing, are you? That's scarily close to what some people are predicting.
Seriously. See, that's why I love these deep dives.
Mm.
We went from my gaming daydream straight to an ARK Invest article claiming every gamer can be a developer. But they had me at their opening stat. The cost of 3D assets for games has dropped 99% in a year. Not since dial-up have I seen a price plummet that fast.
And just like dial-up limited who could get online, those costs meant only certain people could make games. But before we get lost in the AI weeds, it's worth remembering how other media went through this.
Okay, I'm game for a history lesson. If you promise, it circles back to me ruling the gaming world.
Picture Hollywood a century ago, right? Total gatekeepers of storytelling, big budgets, limited voices. Then TV shook things up, but the real earthquake was technology making creation dirt cheap. Suddenly, everyone's a filmmaker.
Cue the YouTube generation uploading more cat videos than Hollywood could dream up.
Way more. We're talking 4,000 times the content, at least according to this article. But it's not just about quantity, right? It's about access shifting power. Instead of a few studios deciding what we see, it's all of us. Could gaming be next?
I mean, Roblox is already a user-generated content behemoth with over 470 million player-made experiences. That dwarfs the entire traditional gaming industry.
It's astounding, isn't it? And that's before generative AI really hits its stride. We're talking a potential tidal wave of creation.
Okay, so break it down. For those of us who haven't quite grasped the whole AI thing, what makes this different from, say, modding a game, which people have been doing for years?
It's the difference between building with pre-made Lego blocks versus describing the castle you want and having the AI magically assemble those bricks for you. We're talking text to 3D models where you literally type in what you want. This ARK Invest article even showed a side-by-side comparison. Crazy complex design software versus a simple text box. It's mind-blowing.
So instead of spending months learning to code a hyper-realistic tree, I can just type, give me a spooky willow-like tree with glowing leaves, and boom, instant haunted forest.
Well, it's not quite instant yet, and that's where the technical limitations come in. While an AI can whip up a tree, making that tree interact with the game world, say making the leaves rustle realistically or branches break when you jump on them, that's a whole other ballgame requiring serious coding chops, at least for now.
So baby steps. But even at this stage, the cost reduction is wild. This article mentioned a bunch of AI models, Dream Fields, DreamFusion, Point E. Each one's faster, cheaper, better. It's like watching the evolution of smartphones, but for making stuff out of thin air.
And just like smartphones, it's not just about the tech, but who's using it and how. That's where this gets really interesting. Remember that point about platforms with more user-generated content having an AI advantage?
Yeah, because they're feeding their AI more data, right? More fuel for the creative fire.
Think of it this way. Every time someone on Roblox builds a skyscraper, designs a cool hat, or scripts a unique quest, it's like they're teaching the AI a new trick. The platforms with the most students will end up with the smartest AI. It's a potential gold mine.
So the race is on for who has the smartest AI. But let's say I'm already sold on this future. Sign me up. What kind of games could we see in this gamer-made utopia? Are we talking endless sequels to popular games or something weirder and wilder?
That's the exciting part, isn't it? If history is any guide, we can expect the unexpected. Think about the early days of filmmaking. Who could have predicted cat videos would rule the internet?
Or those ASMR unboxing videos. Some things defy explanation.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of putting powerful tools in the hands of millions. Right now, even with platforms like Roblox, there are still trends genres that rise to the top.
Sure, your life simulators, your tycoon games, your collectathons.
But imagine a wave of creators who don't even think within those boxes. Games that are more about exploring emotions, solving puzzles, based on obscure historical facts or experiences that defy categorization altogether.
Okay, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. We're talking about a potential paradigm shift in what a game even is. But before we descend into total chaos, let's talk about the elephant in the room.
You mean the fact that not every gamer is a talented game designer?
Touché. Will we drown in a sea of, shall we say, amateur games? How do we separate the wheat from the chaff?
It's a valid concern for sure. Just like YouTube has its share of, let's say, questionable content, opening the floodgates could lead to a drop in average quality.
And on the flip side, if it's so easy, does that devalue the skills of actual game developers? Those folks who spent years honing their craft?
Remember what happened with digital photography? Initially, everyone thought they were a pro because they had a fancy phone. But guess what? The best photographers, they adapted. They embraced the new tools while still bringing their unique vision and expertise.
So instead of replacing human developers, AI becomes this power-up, freeing them from tedious tasks and letting them flex their creative muscles even more.
Exactly. Imagine a world where indie developers can finally realize their ambitious visions without being held back by budget constraints. Or where AAA studios can create even more immersive and expansive worlds thanks to AI assistance.
Okay, I'm feeling more optimistic. But all this talk of AI overlords and gamer utopias has me thinking about the practical side. Who actually pays for these games if everyone's a developer?
Ah, the million-dollar question. The truth is, the traditional model of selling games is already on shaky ground, even before we factor in AI, free-to-play, microtransactions, subscription services. It's a wild west out there.
So where does that leave us? Are we all just creating content for the love of the game, or is there a way to make this work financially?
Platforms like Roblox are already experimenting with new economic models. Think user-generated content with a capitalist twist. Players can create and sell their own in-game items, experiences, even entire game modes.
So instead of selling the whole game, it's about selling the pieces.
In a way, yes. And it's not just pocket change either. Last year, Roblox paid out over $500 million to its creators. That's real money, even if it's earned in a virtual world.
That's wild. So there's potential there, but it sounds like we're still in the very early stages of figuring out this whole gamer as developer financial ecosystem.
Absolutely. And there are still big questions to grapple with. Intellectual property rights, content moderation. How do you ensure a safe and fair platform when you have millions of creators? It's a brave new world with a lot of unknowns.
It's exciting and a little daunting at the same time, right? Like peering into this chaotic beginning of a brand new internet, but for games.
It's rarely a smooth process, though, is it? We've talked about the potential upsides, but there are bound to be growing pains. This article didn't shy away from the ethical tightropes either.
Yeah, the whole with great power thing tends to rear its head. What are we talking about specifically?
Think about intellectual property. If an AI is trained on millions of user creations, where's the line between inspiration and straight-up copying? And what about the creators themselves? Are they getting a fair shake if their work is fueling these AI behemoths?
It's like the Wild West of copyright law, but in a world made of pixels and code.
Exactly. And let's not forget the potential for misuse. What happens when someone figures out how to create hyper-realistic AI-generated propaganda or inappropriate content? Moderating that volume of content will be a nightmare.
Okay, so maybe it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but there's a part of me that still can't help but feel optimistic. It's like despite all the potential pitfalls,
Yeah.
the potential for good is just too massive to ignore.
Right. I agree. Imagine a world where education can be truly gamified, where kids are learning complex concepts without even realizing it because they're too busy having fun. Or imagine games that can help people cope with real-world problems, from social anxiety to mental health issues. The possibilities are truly staggering.
It's almost like gaming could become this incredible force for positive change.
Yeah.
Not just entertainment, but a tool for learning, for healing, for connecting with each other on a deeper level.
And let's not forget about the democratization of creativity itself.
Yeah.
Right now, breaking into the gaming industry is incredibly difficult. You need talent, resources, connections. But imagine a world where the only barrier to entry is your imagination, where anyone, regardless of their background or circumstances, can bring their unique vision to life.
So what you're saying is the next big gaming craze might not come from a multi-million-dollar studio, but from a teenager in their bedroom with a crazy idea and access to these AI tools.
Exactly. And that's a future worth getting excited about. It reminds me of the early days of the internet when nobody knew quite what to make of it, but there is this palpable sense of possibility in the air. We're on the cusp of something truly transformative.
I'm ready to level up. All right, listeners, that does it for our deep dive into the future of gaming. It's a future full of potential pitfalls for sure, but also incredible promise. Big thanks to our expert for guiding us through this fascinating and ever-evolving landscape. And for you at home, we want to hear from you. What kind of game would you create in a world where AI makes anything possible? Hit us up on social media and let us know. Until next time, game on.